Hello and welcome, everybody. It is Coach Action Jackson, and we're here with my client, Brian. Brian is a superstar in this episode of Client Success Stories. And the reason I wanted to bring you his story, the reason I'm so excited to speak with him is because we've had a lot of just insane no-pack to six-pack transformations. And Brian's not quite at his six-pack yet. He's not there yet, but he's made a tremendous amount of progress. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring him on today and share his story, because he's done so well. I'm so proud of him. I'm so excited for his results. His results so far, 33 total inches, which is boom, mind-blowing. 7¼ inches off his waist, 27.2 pounds. And his strength score went up 99 points. So incredible, insane results over the last 16 weeks. Brian, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Brian. I mean, you pretty much said everything that's important. I mean, like everybody else, I'm stuck at a desk. So this made a huge improvement to me. I've been sitting on a Peloton for ages and not making anywhere. I got the tonal and found you, and all of a sudden things started working.
Interesting. So that's a really fascinating thing that you just said there. You said I was sitting on the Peloton for ages and I wasn't making progress. So many people think that cardio is going to be the answer to their fat loss prayers, but you're saying that's not the case.
No, definitely not for me. I mean, I was doing power zone training the whole bit. I pushed my numbers on that. I think I went up like 30-40% in like 6-8 months on my scores. And I mean, my threshold power was like 209 watts or something. And even at that though, I was still gaining weight, but it wasn't muscle. I wasn't burning off fat. And I was watching what I was eating, but it wasn't going anywhere. As soon as I started the strength training, it started coming off.
Man, that had to have been so frustrating. So take me back to that place. Like, what was your mindset like at that point when you're putting in tons of work? You're obviously, I mean, you're kicking your ass on the bike and you're not seeing the progress.
Oh no, absolutely. I was on the bike 4 or 5 times a week, 45-minute or longer rides. By the time I got off, it was a hell of a ride, and I felt really good doing it, but yeah, the weight wasn't changing. If anything, it was going up a little bit. It just wasn't moving. It wasn't the same as what I've gotten off of tonal at this point and out of this program.
Yeah, I think that's one of the fascinating things is in the moment, you feel like I just got a good workout in. But because the strategy isn't there, it's not the best strategy and it's not the best method. What ends up happening is even though short term you feel good, over the long term, you're just not seeing any progress, right?
Right.
So what was the moment? Go ahead.
Too much, it was just legs. It was nothing, the rest of me is turning into flab and the legs are becoming solid. But even that though, I mean, I lost almost 3 inches off of my legs, off my thighs. I mean, and that's after having done a ton of Peloton work. What
was the breakthrough moment, or what was the moment that you realized I have to do something different? Like, this is obviously not working.
Well, I've done pretty much every program out there at some point. I did Nutrisystem when I was single, and it was great because it was cheaper for me to do Nutrisystem than it was to go to the store and buy food. Because when you're single, you don't want to cook anyway. Then, I've done Weight Watchers and I tried a couple other things, and they all work to some extent. But what pushed me over the edge this time is I decided, all right, fine, I'll try Noom. And I actually gained 5 pounds on Noom because the macros they had me doing were ridiculously high for where I should be. That's always been my biggest problem I've had is I use any of the calculators and I say, all right, here's my weight, here's what I want to do, this is where I want to go. And they give me a number and I say, well, okay, I'm supposed to tell them if I'm working out. Well, at one point before the shutdown, I was going to Orange Theory 6 days a week. Well, when you put in the fact that you're working out for an hour, 6 days a week, it took my calories from like 2,000 to 4,000. Like, that doesn't work, can't do that. And then similar kind of thing with Noom. I said, all right, I'm working out 4 days a week. And it punched my calorie numbers too high. So yeah, none of those other systems worked. The macros you gave me and the workouts you gave me, they're working.
So why do you think those other things didn't work?
Um, I think the big difference with them is that I think they're taking that track of you get back the calories you exercise, which is bogus. That's never going to work, because I mean, that's the only way I can come up with why the numbers increase as much as they did.
Sure.
You know, I could see, you know, all right, I'm working out, I get a little extra because I'm putting in, you know, an hour worth of heavy load, but not like what, you know, they were telling me 2,600 calories a day kind of thing. And I'm like, that's more than I'm eating now, you know. And I tried some of those, and it basically, I got to a point where I would stop eating before I hit my calorie point because I was so stuffed, I felt sick.
Wow. That's frustrating. This is another reason why I wanted to bring you on. And I love your story, is because unlike, I'd say, a lot of times with people where it's like, oh, it's a lack of discipline, or they're not working out, or they're not doing what they're supposed to. You're following the plan, you're executing, you're disciplined, you're working your ass off and not seeing results. And that's what one thing that's so fascinating about your story is that you were doing what you were supposed to, or at least what people were telling you to do, and it still wasn't working.
No.
So let's fast forward to you start working with me. What was the breakthrough moment still? Was there a breakthrough moment? Was there an aha moment, like a day or a time or something happened that it was like, I have to figure this out?
For in your program, no. I mean, you had everything pretty much laid out for the most part. There's a bunch of stuff in there. If anything, I almost hit information overload at the beginning because there's tons and tons of videos to get started. And it was just going through, you know, one, doom, you know, getting through them. And the biggest part, it was scary. I mean, it was just truly scary because the macro numbers you gave me were way different than anything I'd ever seen, but they worked. I mean, it was scary when I started doing it. You know, that first week was just kind of, okay, how in the world is this going to happen? And then by the week 4, you know, and the macros changed again after that. And I was like, well, wait a minute, can I just go back to the ones I was just on? Because I'm good with those now. You know, at one point I wanted to go back to fewer carbs because I had gotten used to not eating carbs and I was okay with that. You know,
how did you get through that first week when it was scary and you're filled with doubts and you're not sure, and this is so different? Like, how do you manage the fear and push through?
Oh, you just do it. It's, I mean, it's, I don't know. It's not fear in the regard. I wouldn't say fear in the regard of, oh God, I'm going to starve or I'm going to pass out or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. It's more of the, this has to work. I have to make this work. I will find a way to make this work. It's just, you make it happen. I mean,
wow.
There's so many things that I've done in my life for, you know, if I have a plan, I can follow it. And it doesn't matter how hard it is, how crazy it is. It's just, that's the way it works. If I have something I can follow, and, you know, I can trust that the person that gave me the list or the schedule is got a clue, then I make it work. It's the way I am.
So what you just said there is so consistent with everybody else that I've ever had join this show and sit in that same chair. Everybody who's on and does this with me, does these client success story interviews, they always say the same thing. I had to make it work, or there was no other option, or I'm burning the boats, or some iteration of that. And you just said it had to work. I was going to make it work. The only way was forward. And obviously we do everything we can to make it as easy on you as it possibly can be, but you still have to follow the diet. You still have to put in the work. You still have to do those things. And I know you were totally good with those because you had been working so hard previously. So I wasn't worried about you doing the work, but that's a really fascinating mindset and a much different mindset that I think a lot of people take when whether it's sign up for a program or they start a new diet or a workout plan. It's, well, we'll see what happens, or I hope I lose weight, or I hope it works out. And you're like, no, this is working. I'm doing this.
Yeah, you can't go with the hope. It is, you do it or you don't do it. You know, take this famous Yoda quote, you know, or steal from Nike at this point, just do it. It is absolutely a mindset. If you go with the idea of you're going to hope it'll get better, it's you've already set yourself up for a chance of failure because you've given yourself an option out instead of just saying, no, it's going to happen.
I absolutely love that. I say that all the time. Hope is not a strategy, and
No.
99% is a bitch. 100% is easy because if you're 100%, there's no other option. There's no, I'm going to have the cake or I'm going to do this or I'm going to skip the workout. It's no, I'm going to do this no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's easy to follow through.
No, and I mean, my next alternative was if I didn't start off with you, it was going to be going to my cardiologist and using the program that he sells, which is buying food from him, et cetera. And the only thing that had going for it is because, well, it's my doctor is actually, running the program, but I didn't want to do that because I hate the idea of buying food. I liked what you've got is, hey, here's the list. Follow this list of foods. It'll keep you solid. And yeah, it's kind of been interesting watching the pantry change. Yes.
Absolutely. So what you're saying is that having some more options, a little bit more flexibility makes it easier on you to follow the diet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a lot of it is looking at things. You just got to look at the food a different way. I absolutely used to be one of the people, and I still am, I eat because I love food. Give me a chance and I'll go hit a French restaurant or a Cajun restaurant. If I can find some good Cajun food, absolutely. But you want to talk about the massive amount of calories that are horribly bad for you. French and Cajun, yeah, it's just not okay. So I figured out now a lot of this stuff of it's not making it perfect every day. I don't have to be perfect every day. I have to be better than I could have been. And if I screw up, I got to make it better the next day. And, it's the big thing for me that I had to get into a mental state of is every time I'd walk into the pantry, I started asking myself, why am I in here? Why the hell am I standing in the pantry right now? And that was, I got okay with being pissed off at myself because it was no, I'm in here because I'm bored. I'm in here because of some reason other than I'm hungry. At this point, like my snacks have switched into, I've got bags of almonds. If anything, I may start overdoing it on almonds because I've started finding some flavored almonds that fit. They're right at that edge of fitting, and yeah, they're really good. But now I'm grabbing almonds instead of Oreos.
So a couple of things you said there that I want to point out. You said having to think about food differently. So thinking about it more so as like fuel or this good positive thing, not just as eating for taste. So that's one huge thing. The second thing that you mentioned, a little bit more tactical, but I think equally powerful and important is why am I eating? Why am I in here right now? Why am I in the kitchen right now? And you said oftentimes it was because I was bored. And there's a lot of research that shows that the majority of time people eat not because they're actually hungry. It's like the vast majority of time, but they eat because they're procrastinating, because they're bored, they're stressed, they have, they're for a number of reasons, but not because they're actually hungry.
Yeah.
So that is just fascinating that you have the awareness to ask that question and then really be vulnerable enough with yourself to answer it honestly and say, you know what, I am just bored and I'm in here.
Yeah. No, working from home is not conducive to losing weight because the pantry's, the other end of the house, and it's easy enough to just wander in and graze. And
Certainly.
I've gotten pretty good at stopping that. I still have I have an Oreo every now and then, but you got to have something. But otherwise, no, I've cut out, like I said, I'm eating almonds now more than I'm eating anything else because they're easy, they're good. If anything, if nothing else, they're good for you anyway. So.
But you change the environment, right? You change the foods that are in there, which are then going to obviously change the foods that you're going to eat. And you change your mindset around them. And now you even just said, I've found lots of almonds that are really good, that are
Yeah.
tasty. I like them. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
One
there's a
other,
wasabi almond that was just tasty.
a
I love
wasabi almond.
wasabi.
Okay. I really like the they have like the chocolate, like the cacao or whatever covered ones. They're like 100-calorie packs, but they have like the chocolate on them. Those are good. Those are
I'll
good.
have
I
to
like
look for
those.
those. I think I may have stayed away from the chocolate ones, just assuming it wasn't the cacao powder. It was chocolate.
It might have been cocoa instead of cacao, but they were
Yeah.
only 100 calories. So the whole bag was 100 calories, which is, as you know, very useful when you limit the serving size, because then
Hmm.
the odds of having another serving are really low. But the last thing I want to bring up that you mentioned that I think is so important, it's so useful for anyone watching this, is you talked about not catastrophizing and focusing on progress, essentially the
Hmm.
progress principle, right? Um, that is incredibly important because so many people, what they do is they try to be perfect, and then when they're not, they spiral out of control, and then they
Hmm.
go to In and Out or McDonald's, and they have a milkshake, and then they just go off for a week until they finally say, okay, I finally have to rein it back in, let me come back. And now they're so far gone, and they've gained
Hmm.
so much weight and eating so many calories that it's so hard to get back on track.
Oh yeah.
How do you manage when you screw up? What's the mindset? How do you manage that, and how do you get yourself back on track faster?
I, I kind of toss that into that whole self-aware category. You've got to be willing to be mad at yourself and then move on with it. It's the, okay, I know I had last night's meal wasn't great. What am I going to do about it today? Or, I've had, especially like if I'm traveling, driving up and down 95, I can't have a good meal day. It just isn't going to happen. My options are McDonald's, which is not an option. It's so horrible. Um, so I don't have a lot of options at that point, but I got to eat something. If I'm 14 hours on the road, but when I get to where I'm going, I'm careful. I get the meals back to where they're supposed to be. I get it as close as I can. I mean, we went to Disney for a week and I actually lost 0.2 pounds. So, I was at least careful enough that it worked. And that's part of, we went to a restaurant instead of ordering shepherd's pie, which I really wanted the shepherd's pie because they have a really good one. I ordered the salmon that's sitting on a bed of lettuce. It was still really good, but it wasn't shepherd's pie. But that's what I did because it's what I needed to do.
Now tell me, has it been worth it though? So a lot of
Oh,
people think, and they think like, oh, this is a sacrifice. He's making lots of sacrifices. You mentioned that you still have the Oreo cookie from time to time. So I assume you're still working in the Cajun food occasionally. You still
oh
work
yeah.
in an Oreo. So you're still getting some of these things. You're not completely depriving yourself.
No,
And has it been worth
it's,
it?
oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's been parts of the diet where, I've eaten 2 or 3 hamburgers at a time, not the buns, just the meat patties, because that's where I was at with calories.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't normally do that. With trying to get the macros right, when you start playing with the macro numbers, it's the, I can go have 2 burgers. And, instead of having the bun, or maybe I only have half the bun. You play games like that to get where you want to be and still enjoy it. I mean, there's been plenty of times I've gone out and had Red Robin for lunch. I just don't get the fries. I got the salad instead. And that was still well within my numbers. And it just meant that I was more, I had less to work with for dinner or for the midday meal. And it just, you adjust it and you go with it. It's, if you want that thing, you can have it as long as you're willing to adjust later.
Wow. You are just, you're bringing so much incredible, like game changing knowledge for people right now. So, what you talked about with getting back on track fast, having that
Mhm.
conversation with yourself, and just picking up and saying, hey, I know it wasn't perfect, but what can I do about this and improve tomorrow? How can I make this and adjust so tomorrow is going to be a better day than it was today? Maybe not again perfect, but a better day than it was
Yep.
today. And then still saying, okay, I can't have this, or I'm going to play around with the numbers. And if I don't hit them, how can I improve tomorrow? What adjustments can I make? and almost looking at it like a game, like staying curious, having is making it as enjoyable as you can and adjusting, as opposed to saying, I'm going to be perfect from day one and I'm going to stay perfect and I'm
Yep.
going to never screw up. And as
Oh,
soon
you're going to
as
screw up. You're
you
going
got
to.
it, you're going to. So you might as well embrace it and have the mindset you have, which is, okay, let's tweak this. How can we adjust? Let's play this. Let's play this. Let's try to get it perfect. Let's try to get it right and improve, because it's a constant, never ending process of improvement. And even me,
Yep.
I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm at very high fitness level, but I'm not perfect. I still screw up from time to time, and I'm still getting better and working on myself. So I love that you have that mindset. That's fantastic. I'm going to reiterate the numbers one last time. So after the 16 weeks, you lost 33 total inches. You lost 7.25 inches off your waist, 27.2 pounds, and your strength score went up 99 points. So
That's actually not even the most important one to me. I've been
really,
on blood pressure medicine for 15 plus years. I'm off. My doctor took me off my blood pressure medicine and said, you're good. So I between losing the weight, the amount of cardio exercise, the amount of strength training, etc., I'm off my meds. I'm not on blood pressure medicine anymore. And the doctor said, go away. He wants me back in 6 or 8 months or something just to check in. But that's what this has done for me.
wow, Brian, I'm just overcome with emotion over here, because that, we talk so much, and this is again why I wanted you to share your story, is the flashy, the six-pack, oh my God, amazing. But it's not about six-pack abs in the end. What it's about is, it's about health. It's about how you feel about yourself. It's about living an active, healthy, long life. And it's about getting off blood pressure medication and what that's going to have, the impact that's going to have for you and your family over the long term. Wow. How does that feel?
Oh, it's great. I mean, that's, at this point I take my allergy meds and that's it, but it's getting off of blood pressure medicine. That's a big deal for me, because I hate taking medicine anyway, but that's one of those things that's always sitting there lingering. And, the doctor says, well, lose the weight, and you're trying to lose the weight and it doesn't happen. Well, it finally happened and it worked. If I can drop another 30 pounds, I'll be happy. If I can drop 20, I'd be happy. But, we'll shoot for more, see what I get.
Brian, that's so amazing. I'm so incredibly proud of you. So I just want to acknowledge you and let you know how proud I am, how excited I am for the progress you made, how appreciative and grateful I am for you sharing all of that knowledge here today. And it really does, it gets me so excited. It fires me up so much to hear the excitement that you have, to hear all the progress you made, but to hear the fact that you're off your blood pressure medication. There's nothing I get more excited than helping people like you. And that's just such an incredible game-changing moment. Because I remember one time, my mom, bless her soul, she passed away last May. But I remember one time I was at the doctor with her, and the doctor asked what medication she was on, and she had to pull out a list from her purse because she was on so many medications.
Yeah.
She couldn't even remember. And my dad, who's 73, in contrast, this is crazy, but my dad, I went to the doctor with him once, and the doctor said, oh, okay, what medications are you on? And he said, none. And the doctor looked at him like he was crazy. He's like, what? You're not on any medications? It's almost crazy now to not be on medications if you're in your 50s or 60s or 70s. So that's just so fantastic to hear. Brian, congratulations, my friend. Anything else you'd like to say, or any wisdom you'd like to share?
It's just do it. It's scary. It's, you worry about it. You just do it. That's it. I mean,
you are an inspiration to so many, Brian. Thank you again for all your hard work. I am so grateful for you. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for letting me share your story here today.
Oh, thank you.